What is up, guys? Welcome to another video, and today we're doing another review, and this time it's a figure review. I know I did some model kit stuff and I dragged that on, but we're back to figures and a special review at that because this is going to be something new. We are reviewing a NECA figure, but not from the Alien franchise, but rather from the Predator franchise. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I found this one Predator figure of a wicked cool looking Predator, and I was like, you know what, that's it. He's gonna be the first review, and that is the 100th figure edition Alpha Predator. Now, this guy has a lot behind him when it comes to lore and all that, and we will get to that in just a minute, but I do want to say that I am happy to be reviewing figures again. Not saying that model kits are bad, it's just it feels good to be back into the figure realm of things. So without that, let's dive into the lore and backstory of our figure. Who is the Alpha Predator? Where does he come from? What is his story? What is his name? Well, the first appearance of the Alpha Predator was in the video game Predator Hunting Grounds, a game I've unfortunately not had the pleasure to play, but who knows, maybe after I make this video I'll buy it, play it, and who knows, maybe I'll have some content based around the game if I really do like it. Who knows, we'll see in the future. But the Alpha Predator, what is his story and what is his name? The name of our Alpha Predator here is Kaail, or Kaail, which is K-A-A-I-L, so I'm probably butchering the name. I'm not good at pronouncing things, but in English it translates to rage. And the Alpha Predator isn't the only title that he holds. He also holds the title of First Hunter. Now, how did he get this name? To answer that question, I'm going to have to turn a long story into a short one. So, giving you the very short answer, he got the name from freeing him and his race from slavery. Now, if you want to hear the long answer, essentially, our boy the Alpha Predator isn't even a Yautja. He is a Hish, which are the ancestors of the Yautja, and they are the precursors, basically setting up the Yautja for success and setting up their way of life. Now, our boy the Alpha Predator, the day he was born, he was brought into slavery by his captors, which were the Amenji, a spacefaring, technologically advanced species who enslaved the Hish race and essentially used them for their own entertainment. And by that I mean they would have gladiator battles and juice up the Hish and make them fight against each other. And our boy the Alpha Predator was one of these gladiators. Well, one day our boy got fed up with the Amenji's rule, and him and a bunch of his brothers banded together to free themselves and their race from the Amenji rule, and eventually he would succeed in doing so. And because our Alpha Predator was able to take on this feat and free his people, he is known as a legend throughout Yautja history and is known as one of the greatest predators of all time. And because of that, he was given the name Alpha Predator or First Hunter, depending on what you want to call him. And yeah, that is pretty much the story of our Alpha Predator here. This actually took way longer than it should have to get out. It took me around an hour to record this because I had to pronounce Yautja and Amenji and Hish without messing up, and I did that a lot. So yeah, this took a while to record, and you guys are probably here for the figure and not the lore, but good thing I put timestamps, so don't complain. But yeah, onto the figure now. So getting into the actual review, here is the box art for the Alpha Predator, and on the back we have some photos of our boy and some lore if you want to read that and you skipped my lore segment for some reason. But open up the box, there's another photo of the boy, and then here's what he looks like in the box. Everything looking promising, a lot of accessories and goodies. So opening up the box, just looking at everything again, first impressions, everything is looking good so far, and there's actually so much included. It actually took me a little bit to get everything out of the plastic tray. Not that it was hard at all, but just there is so much included with this guy that I just thought I would point that out, that this guy, there's a lot to unpack and a lot to get into, so let's get into it. And diving into articulation as per usual, starting off at the head region, he can look up and down, but be careful, his head will pop off, and then he can kind of turn his head side to side. You can't really achieve a full 360, but you can get him to somewhat look side to side. Arm articulation, he can't really bring his arm up all the way, but good enough, and then he can rotate it 360 degrees if you did want him to. And then getting to the elbow articulation, he can bring that forearm a really good amount. I am impressed and loving with how much he can bring his forearm up. That is a really good show of elbow articulation. And then getting to the hand articulation on this guy, he can rotate his hand 360 degrees and pretty much bend it or tilt it however you want, which is always a good sign of hand articulation. It's very simple, very effective. We've seen it in Jazzware figures, we've seen it with the alien figures, we've seen it with a bunch of figures. And then getting to torso articulation, he kind of do a crunch better than most alien figures. Granted, this guy is built differently, but he has a really good 360 spin you can achieve. But I'm just happy that we have a NECA figure that can do a crunch. Going down to the legs, he can't really achieve a split because of his armor clashing with his waist, and he can bring his leg up a good amount. He can't really bring it back a good amount, but he can achieve a butt kick if you really do want him to do so, which is a good sign of knee articulation. So the joints throughout this figure are really good bending. And then when we get to the feet, they're kind of iffy. You can tilt them and, rotate them 360 degrees, just not as much as I thought they were going to be able to move when it came to tilting and all that. So overall, very happy with the articulation on this figure. So here is the first of many accessories, which is the face mask for the Predator, and here it is made out of a skull of an Amenji, and I just think this is a really badass design for a face mask. And of course, you would just pop it on by placing it over his face. There's no snap or indication that it's on. You kind of just have to trust that it will stay on. And I just think it looks really sick on him. This is such a cool design for a Predator face mask. For the second accessory is his wrist blades, and these just connect via ball joints. You don't really bend them or move them around. They're just connected via ball joints. But of course, you can slide the wrist blades up and down his arm if you really wanted to. And it's going with the primitive aesthetic again. I just really like how badass this looks. It's the jaw of a creature, probably an Amenji, but it's so cool looking. And if the look of the Alpha Predator already wasn't aggressive enough, there are these two spikes that go on the backpack of the Alpha Predator, and obviously, he is wearing the bones of his captors already. So, of course, why not add more spikes to make him look even more aggressive? And that's not me trashing on it. I absolutely love the idea of making this guy look even more ready to kill. And if these spikes weren't just threatening enough, he can put them on his wrists. One goes on the wrist blade that's already on his arm, and then another can attach to the gauntlet on the other arm for these even larger wrist blades. If one wasn't enough, now you have two, and he's just even more aggressive looking because, one wrist blade isn't enough. Then getting into his handheld weapons, starting with the sickle. There's not really much to go over. It's a sickle. Obviously, it's made out of bone and has some wrapping around the handle. The sculpting and the paint job's really good. It's weathered. It's got detail. It looks like it's just man-made, or I should say hish-made. It's just a sickle that looks very primitive and looks very deadly. And if you want the sickle to be on him but not have him holding it, there is a loop through his belt, so you can have him with the sickle but not holding it. The next weapon that is included is his shuriken. Now, there isn't too much to go over. It's just a shuriken. There is effort in the paint job, how it goes from tan to brown. It looks like it's made out of bone and being held together with some kind of adhesive or just something. I don't really see any rope in the sculpting, but our boy does have a shuriken, just like we will see with the Yauchas later on in the future, and it looks pretty cool. Kind of looks like a face hugger to some extent. Now, there isn't a loop made for it, but if you do want him to have the shuriken displayed on his person, there is kind of a way. You can kind of just put it on the other side of the belt and it fits on just perfectly. And for the final weapon is his spear, and this thing looks aggressive. It's made out of bones. It's just, there's a blade on the end of it. It looks like you can saw into your enemies. It looks like it is a very versatile weapon that can fuck you up several different ways, and knowing the predators, that is more than possible. And I just really like how this looks with all the wrapping, the sculpting, the spine that wraps around it towards the bottom. Just a very, very aggressive and predator-esque looking weapon, and I just love the amount of effort NECA did put into this. And yeah, unfortunately there is no sheath for this spear. I did try putting it through the backpack on his back, but his dreads do get in the way, so there's no way of him having this on his person while not holding it in his hands. So that's unfortunate for those who want him to hold the sickle or have him hold nothing at all. And for the last of the accessories is the hands that he comes with. He comes with 6 hands, 2 closed fists, 2 holding hands, and 2 open hands, and obviously they are painted to accommodate his skin tone. And I just think that these are painted and sculpted really well. Like, you can see the wrinkles and just the white and purplish, skin tone he's got going on. Just a really impressive job on these hands, I'm not gonna lie. And I think I'm only this impressed because this is my first time reviewing a NECA figure that isn't an alien. So it's just, I find the amount of effort that NECA put into these hands really, really good. So that is pretty much everything that is included with the Alpha Predator, so there's not really much else to go over except for my thoughts, because those are valid, right? So let's start off with what I have issues with the figure. I generally don't have any big ones, just kind of little tiny things. Starting off with the dreads, this guy has longer dreads than most Predators do, which is really cool to see, and I have no problem with that as an idea. But the issue with the figure is that the braids, or dreads I should say, tend to clash with the backpack and just kind of go all over the place. And yeah, he's primitive, he's a killer, he's a hunter, he's supposed to look, dirty and all, not exactly the cleanest looking guy. It's just, though, the dreads are supposed to go down, where sometimes they're just like poking up because they're going down, clashing with something, and they have to curve back up, and it just kind of looks like a mess. It's not anything damaging to the figure, or it doesn't really make me dock points for the figure, because the dreads do look really good and you can easily fix it. It's just, if you don't really pay attention to the figure and you just let the dreads droop, they will clash with the backpack and curve up. But if you just take your time to carefully position the dreads, they will all stay down. And yeah, so I'm not going to dock points for that. That's just more of an observation that kind of just, it's something that popped into my head. So it's not really an issue, but it might be the some who want their picture perfect Predator to have their dreads going down. So yeah, so some of you might not care, some of you might, I don't know, just something I figured I'd point out. And another issue that I do kind of have with this figure, so it's not a terribly big issue, because I actually didn't have it happen a lot throughout the video, but basically you might want a stand for this guy. If you have him standing still and upright, he won't really fall over, but when you try doing the more intricate poses, he's gonna start, falling over, because he's got a lot going on with his look that he's not perfectly balanced. So you're gonna want to have a stand for some poses, especially ones with the spear, if you want him looking like he's about to go in for a swing or something. But just, he's a little off balance at times, but more times than not, if you have him in a neutral pose, he'll be fine. It's just when you try to do more integral kind of, stances. And I'm not even saying where he's mid running or jumping. I'm just saying like positioning his feet elsewhere is what I'm trying to say. So nothing too big that ruins the figure, but just 2 little things that I figured I would be nitpicky with, because I genuinely don't have any complaints about the figure. But what I do like about this figure, it's a NECA figure, so take a wild guess. I really like the sculpting and the fucking paint job. I really love just the amount of effort NECA puts into, their figures, and obviously I've been praising the alien figures for that, and here I am praising a Predator figure for that same thing. I think it's just a given how much effort NECA does put into their figures, and it really pays off. It's really worth the money. Are they kind of expensive? Yeah, but like, look at what you get. Like, you get these really cool, just detailed figures that come, depending on what kind of figure you get, that come with a lot of accessories. And I know that some of the price might be a little debatable if you get like a Xenomorph that doesn't really come with anything, because it's like you're paying the same price as like a ultimate pack, which is a figure that comes with a bunch of accessories, but you're still getting less accessories, so or none, I should say. So, you know, the pricing is a little iffy. I'm just happy that all the figures are the same price, but it might be a little unfair to the figures that come with no accessories. But I'm ranting about NECA rather than the figure. So back to the figure. This guy comes with a lot of accessories. He looks really good. Just the sculpting, like I said, this guy has wrinkles on his skin, and they address that. He isn't just all pink or all white. He's white and pink, where it's like, it's just, you can just see it, the amount of effort they put into his skin. And then when you look at his armor and the bones, they all look weathered, they all look used. It looks like he's gotten around the cloth around his waist. It, you know, it looks like an actual live animal was once that piece of cloth. Like, there's like shading and just all this just effort and just amazing paint work done to just make it look like this guy has gotten around and that he has a story to tell, let alone his armor being made out of bones. It's just, they want to make it look like that this bone armor has been through hell and back, and alongside with the person wearing that armor, and I think they did a really good job at nailing that. So going away from aesthetics, talking about the actual figure itself, when it comes to articulation, I know I said during the articulation segment it was good articulation, which it is, but going to a more in-depth discussion about it, I like it. Like I said, I think that the only issue I have with the articulation is the head, because he can't really move his head around because of the dreads kind of limiting his, you know, range of motion, because they're clashing with his back and his backpack. But besides that, I think that the articulation overall is really good. Kind of wish he could bring his arms up a bit more, because, you know, he's a Predator. He's very agile. He's very quick. He's jumps on. In most Predator movies, they're in the trees. They're climbing. They have their arms up a lot. So, you know, I kind of wish you could bring their arms up a little bit more. But, you know, after that, head articulation and that issue with the arm, I think it's just solid articulation. I don't really have any gripes to pick when it comes to the articulation. So overall, I think that this is a really solid figure. He has a badass aesthetic. NECA put a lot of effort into the paint job, just, you know, so besides his aesthetic being cool, it was just executed well with the paint job and sculpting, and he feels really good. He just has really good articulation with some minor nitpicky comments about the head and arm. But overall, I think this is a really solid figure. And if you haven't started collecting Predator figures yet, this is a great place to start, because this is a special edition figure as it is already. So this guy's gonna come off the shelves quickly, but he comes with a lot of accessories, and he sticks out from the rest because he has, you know, this aesthetic with the bones and just all that cool stuff. So he sticks out. He's got a lot of accessories, and it's a special figure. So if you see it, get it, because I'm telling you, it's worth the money. And before we round things off with the video, I want to do some size comparisons, because I fucking can. And for our first comparison, who saw this one coming? A Xenomorph. Obviously this is a NECA figure, and it seems like that the alien is just a smidget taller because of his chrome dome, but I'm not worried at all, because I'm pretty sure the Alpha Predator can fold 1,000 aliens any day of the week, seeing the kind of feats that he has conquered. Then up next is Jazzwares, the Spartan Collection Master Chief. Then we have Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series Republic Commando Boss. And then we have Bandai's High Grade Sazabi. I just did a video on this, but I also have a video on Boss and the Alien, so if you want to check out those videos, go do that after this. And then finally we have McFarlane's Doomslayer. And now that is all over, you can, hell is over. You can go back to your purgatory that is the YouTube home screen and see if you're going to go back to hell or find heaven. But with that all said, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really like this figure. Highly recommend it. If you like this video, a like and a subscription would be very cool. You don't have to comment because that's a lot of effort. And we both know the bell is broken. So don't even worry about it. And I'll see y'all in another one.